I'm Tracy Sable. Tonight on EWTN News Nightly, seeking solutions. The White House juggles multiple crises in the Middle East as Bashar al-Assad speaks out for the first time since leaving Syria. Serving the needy. The Supreme Court agrees to take up a case on the work of Catholic charities. We have analysis. A net gain. Learn about the miracle involving a seminarian and basketball that will make Blessed Pier Giorgio Frassati a saint. Plus, island journey. The Holy Father praises the faithful on the French island of Corsica. These stories and more tonight.
From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you for being with us. Our top story tonight, a school shooting in Wisconsin has left at least 3 people dead, including the teenage gunman, and 6 others injured. It happened at the Abundant Life Christian School in Madison, the state capital. It is a K-12 school with around 390 students. The first 911 call came in just before 11 a.m. Central Time. The Madison police chief said that when officers arrived, they found several victims with gunshot wounds. Sad, we now know a student and a teacher are among those who were killed. In a statement, Madison police said the suspected shooter was a student at the school.
To be honest with you, I'm feeling a little dismayed now. So close to Christmas. Every child, every person in that building is a victim and will be a victim forever. These types of trauma don't just go away. And we need to figure out and try to piece together what exactly happened.
Police are still working to gather more information about the suspected shooter. As of right now, there is no known motive. Well, we reached out to Bishop Donald Hying of Madison, and he gave us this statement saying, quote, "We are deeply saddened by the shooting that occurred at Abundant Life Christian School in Madison and mourn for the victims of this horrible act of violence. We stand united with the Abundant Life family and pray for healing for those who are injured and comfort for the families who are facing the heartbreaking loss of a loved one." Well, in Washington, the Biden administration issues a new security alert for Americans in Syria, warning them to leave the country if possible. And for the first time, we are hearing from Syria's ousted leader about what drove him away. White House correspondent Owen Jensen brings us the update. Owen.
Good evening, Tracy. With the brutal dictator now out of Syria, tonight the U.S. continues to monitor the transition process there. And Israel has been attacking what it says are military sites in Syria, including air defenses.
Israel pounds targets in Syria, trying to take out potential threats, including weapons manufacturing sites. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu recalls,
"A year ago, I said a simple thing. We will change the Middle East, and indeed we are changing it. Syria is not the same Syria. Lebanon is not the same Lebanon. Gaza is not the same Gaza. And the head of the Axis, Iran, is not the same Iran."
Ousted Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad released a statement saying he did not want to leave his country, but the Russian military evacuated him after their base in western Syria came under attack. The U.S. State Department spoke about the turmoil today.
That the transition process should be Syrian-led and Syrian-owned and produce an inclusive and representative government, that the rights of all Syrians, including women and minorities, should be respected.
The State Department warns the security situation in Syria continues to be volatile and unpredictable, with armed conflict and terrorism throughout the country. U.S. citizens should depart Syria if possible. This past weekend, Secretary of State Antony Blinken confirmed the U.S. reached out to Syrian rebels, asking them to help free an American.
We've been in contact with HTS and with other parties. We have impressed upon everyone we've been in contact with the importance of helping find Austin Tice and bringing him home.
And Austin Tice's brother responded to reports that Austin once managed to escape his captors.
It's definitely challenging to hear about details from Austin's captivity, mostly because those details come so late after the fact. And we really wish that information would have been acted upon.
The U.S. is also trying to free American hostages held by Hamas in Gaza. Netanyahu says he spoke Saturday with President-elect Donald Trump.
It was a very friendly, very warm, and very important conversation. We spoke about the need to complete Israel's victory, and we also spoke at length about the efforts we are making to free our hostages.
Now, around 100 hostages remain in Gaza, several of them believed to be dead as efforts continue tonight to bring them home. And health officials in the Gaza Strip say more than 45,000 Palestinians have been killed in the fighting between Israel and Hamas going back to the October 7th attacks. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
Pressure is mounting on federal agencies to provide more information about what they know about a series of mysterious drone sightings. Since the first sightings on November 18th, the drones have been seen in 8 states from the East Coast all the way to California. Over the weekend, they forced one airport to close its runways for an hour. And in Ohio, drone activity forced Wright-Patterson Air Force Base to close its airspace for several hours. Despite concern among citizens, officials are urging everyone to remain calm and say there is no evidence that there is a threat. That said, the FBI is still investigating, trying to get to the bottom of it all. Meanwhile, the people who have seen the drones night after night are getting concerned.
It didn't concern me at first. I just didn't think anything of it until it started becoming like every night, the same time, same places. So I figured, okay, they must be doing some kind of military drill. Not that I went to go look to see if they were, I just figured that's what they were doing. And then once they came out and said that they're not, and they don't know what they are, and they're not foreign, but they're not ours, and they don't pose a threat, that's when it becomes concerning.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says he is asking the Department of Homeland Security to deploy special equipment to track the drones. The man charged in the shooting death of a healthcare CEO has retained a top lawyer for his defense. Luigi Mangione is currently in custody in Pennsylvania and is expected to waive extradition to New York. He is charged with murder in the death of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. He's also hired Karen Angiofilo as his defense attorney. She is a former member of the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Mangione could be indicted in New York as early as this week. President-elect Donald Trump says a major bank is planning to invest $100 billion in U.S. projects.
I'm thrilled to announce that SoftBank will be investing $100 billion in America, creating 100,000 American jobs at a minimum. And he's doing this because he feels very optimistic about our country since the election.
Trump announced the project alongside SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son. The president-elect says the 4-year deal is, quote, a monumental demonstration of confidence in America's future. Meanwhile, ABC News has agreed to pay $15 million toward President-elect Trump's presidential library following the settlement of a defamation lawsuit. The lawsuit was over an inaccurate comment by George Stephanopoulos saying that Trump was found liable for rape in the case brought by E. Jean Carroll. Trump sued the network and Stephanopoulos just days after the segment aired. Neither verdict in Carroll's lawsuits involved a finding of rape. The Supreme Court has decided that it will take up a case between a Catholic organization and the state of Wisconsin. The Catholic Charities Bureau in the Diocese of Superior, Wisconsin, provides care for the elderly and disabled. Earlier this year, the state Supreme Court ruled that its work was not typical religious activity. Therefore, it must pay into the state's unemployment compensation program. And joining us now to talk more about this case is attorney Nick Reaves from the Becket Fund for Religious Liberty. They are representing Catholic Charities Bureau. Nick, great to be with you today. First off, could you walk us through this case and what is at the root of this legal dispute?
Absolutely. So Wisconsin has a religious exemption that allows religious organizations not to have to pay into the state's unemployment compensation plan. But what Wisconsin said is Catholic charities and the work they're doing is not sufficiently religious to qualify for this exemption. What Wisconsin said is if you're praying in church, that's religious. But if you're serving the homeless out of the church basement, that's not sufficiently religious. And we think that's wrong.
Yeah, and we know Catholic social teaching, it teaches us to help everyone, regardless of faith. And it's precisely because the group is helping everyone that was the Wisconsin Supreme Court, state Supreme Court, said it's not exempt from paying into unemployment. Nick, how much merit does that argument have? And also, how does not being exempt from paying state unemployment, how does that impact Catholic Charities Bureau?
Yeah, we think it's a really silly argument that Wisconsin is making. What they're saying is you have to actually violate Catholic Church teaching, because the Catholic Church teaches that you should serve everybody in need. You shouldn't limit your ministry to the homeless to only Catholic people. You should serve everybody. That's part of the Catholic Church's message. And Wisconsin's got it completely backwards to say that the Catholic Church has to discriminate against who it serves in order to be sufficiently religious. And we think this is actually very important to a lot of Catholic charities around the country. Wisconsin has this law, but lots of other states have very similar laws too. And so this would apply to other Catholic ministries and actually a lot of religious minority ministries around the country that similarly might do things that are not typically or maybe traditionally considered religious, but are still very important and religious to that community.
Yeah, and Nick, have you seen similar cases like this? And if so, could this case, since it's heading all the way to the Supreme Court, impact them?
Absolutely. Over the years, there have been a number of similar cases raising these issues, often in the charity context, where governments don't seem to understand that serving the needy, caring for the poor, that's really religious. That's important to a lot of these religious groups. So we've seen a number of these cases over the years.
Yeah, Nick, thank you so much. We will continue to follow this case. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
President Biden announces a national monument for the first female cabinet secretary who served under FDR in the 1930s and early 1940s.
Today I'm proud to stand here in the Francis Perkins Building, headquarters of the Labor Department, to designate Francis Perkins Homestead in Newcastle, Maine, a national monument.
Francis Perkins was the longest-serving labor secretary in U.S. history and is credited with helping establish important legislation such as the Social Security Act. And we have a lot more still to come here on EWTN News Nightly, including some painful findings. Lawmakers take a closer look at workplace injuries at online giant Amazon. And a Republican from Oklahoma says faith-based groups are being targeted in their prison ministry. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is set to spend 4 days on Capitol Hill seeking support from lawmakers. This comes amid his being tapped as President-elect Trump's head of Health and Human Services. Kennedy will most likely face scrutiny about his pro-abortion comments from the past and his stated claims, questioning whether vaccines should be mandatory. For now, he is only slated to meet with Republicans. Meantime, Senator Leader Mitch McConnell, survivor of childhood polio, issued a warning last week for the need for polio vaccines, although he never mentioned Kennedy's name. One new report says the online giant Amazon dismissed data linking so-called speed quotas to elevated injury rates. The findings from a Senate committee say that health and safety officials thought Amazon's workplace injuries would be lowered if it relaxed the enforcement of production quotas. Amazon senior executives ignored the recommendation. Lawmakers also found that injury rates at the online giant were nearly twice the average for the rest of the country. Well, as Christmas approaches, churches and organizations are reaching out to help those behind bars find Christ and to turn their lives around. But inmates in federal prisons may not be getting all the outreach they're entitled to, in particular from faith-based groups. A pair of senators are determined to change that. Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales has more.
Good evening, Tracy. Senators James Lankford and Gary Peters wrote a letter demanding information from the Bureau of Prisons about why it rejected several offers from faith-based organizations looking to help prisoners. Lankford says by law, all prisoners are entitled to these programs.
Well, Bureau of Prisons has not implemented it. They basically interviewed folks and said, no, we don't think they all qualify for this. Though they have shown great success in state prisons, they're not being allowed in federal prisons.
Senator Lankford says for nearly 6 years, the Bureau has ignored these programs, which is a violation of the First Step Act, passed in the Trump administration. He adds these programs have proven to be successful on the state level.
If somebody is there of faith that can actually talk to them and to say, there is a God who loves you, that Jesus died on the cross for your sins, he can wipe all of that away and give you a new start. Many individuals in prisons will say, it's time. I need to have that new start. I'd love to be forgiven and to be able to start all over again with my family, with my community, get a job, restart life all over again.
In the senator's letter, they point out discriminatory practices, citing of the 8 faith-based applications received, the Bureau denied 5 and only approved 2 and left the other pending. Family Research Council President Tony Perkins called the report concerning and writes, quote, Biden's HHS department will spend $67 million on payroll for DEI, but rejects the help of faith-based groups in federal prisons, despite evidence showing faith-based programs reduce recidivism and save taxpayers money. EWTN News Nightly emailed the Federal Bureau of Prisons. A spokesperson confirmed it received the senator's letters, but only stated, quote, the Federal Bureau of Prisons responds directly to members of Congress and their staff. We do not share our congressional correspondence with media. Senator Langford has called for follow-up meetings with the Bureau of Prisons. I'll stay on top of the issue. I also want to let you know of an update on former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. As I mentioned on Friday, she fell down a flight of stairs while on official business during a codel in Europe. According to her spokesperson, the 84-year-old underwent successful hip replacement surgery and is now on the mend. At the Capitol, Eric Rosales, EWTN News Nightly.
Up next on EWTN News Nightly, warm welcome. Pope Francis embarks on a one-day trip to Corsica. Why he prays the faithful there. Plus, learn all about the connection between the soon-to-be saint Pier Giorgio Frassati and basketball. For spiritual renewal, urging the people in Corsica to prepare with humility, hope, and acts of charity amidst the challenges of the world. The Holy Father traveled to Corsica for a one-day apostolic trip, the last one in 2024 outside of Italy. The Pope took part in the conference, Popular Religiosity in the Mediterranean, and once again made a call for peace. And Hannah Brockhaus, senior Rome correspondent for Catholic News Agency, joins us now. Hannah, great to see you. So tell us, why was Pope Francis in Corsica?
Well, Tracy, Pope Francis traveled to Ajaccio, Corsica this weekend to give the closing speech for a conference on popular piety and confraternities in the Mediterranean region. So Corsica is an island in the Mediterranean, and like many of those areas, it has a strong devotion. The Catholics there have partaken in a lot of confraternities, over 100 in Corsica, which are these associations of lay people based usually around a religious devotion to Our Lady or to a particular saint. They carry out lots of charitable works in their towns, and they partake in processions. One of the main ways to demonstrate popular piety besides other prayers. So they were on full display on Sunday for the Pope's visit to the island, which is a French region.
And Hannah, what was the atmosphere like on the ground?
Well, it was a really, really warm welcome for Pope Francis. You could tell that it's a very Catholic area and that the people were so happy to see the Pope. I mean, every time he would take a baby to give a kiss or to bless them, they were cheering along with it. And you could tell as well that Pope Francis felt very welcome. He felt very happy to be there. It was as well just like a beautiful atmosphere with the processions and then with the local tradition. So in Corsica, there's a really strong tradition of singing, both sacred and secular. They have their own form of chanting, and that was present during the entire trip from the morning to the evening for every part, including the Mass, which was almost the last event of the day.
Yeah, Hannah, before I let you go, I know the Holy Father usually gives a press conference on the flight back from a trip, but he didn't this time. Tell us why.
That's right. We don't know the exact reason why, but he came back to the back of the plane on our return flight to Rome and greeted journalists, thanked us for our work, but he declined to give a press conference as he usually does. It was a very short flight. He probably couldn't have gotten in more than 1 or 2 questions, but you know, he did seem as well tired. It was a very, very long day, and he did choose to stop and say, however, that something that stood out to him from the day was the number of children he saw. He said, a lot of people trips, I don't see so many children, but I saw children. and they are the future. So he highlighted that for all of us. I have to say, one of my impressions for this papal trip is that this was Pope Francis's chance to visit the French people. 1 year ago, he went to Marseille, France, another French city, and there he spent a lot more time with bishops and with the institution in France, with authorities. Instead, this trip was so focused on the Catholic people, you really felt that he wanted to show them that he was there with them.
That's wonderful. Hannah, thank you so much for your reporting. We appreciate it. God bless.
Thank you, Tracy.
Well, finally tonight, new developments into the miracle attributed to Blessed Pier Giorgio Frassati that led to his upcoming canonization. And it involves a seminarian from Los Angeles and basketball. Father Juan Manuel Gutierrez was a seminarian in Los Angeles when he suffered a severe ankle injury while playing basketball back in 2017. After a series of misdiagnoses and months of pain, Father Gutierrez began a novena to the Italian man who died nearly 100 years earlier. Days later, Father Gutierrez was healed. Medical personnel were stunned, and a sainthood cause was moving forward. And joining us now is Father Juan Manuel Gutierrez from the Archdiocese of Los Angeles. Father Juan, great to be with you today. There is so much to your beautiful story of healing. But first off, tell us why you chose a novena to Blessed Pier Giorgio Frassati. What was it about him?
When it came time to choose someone to journey with me through my novena, his name was the one that was inspired to me during my prayer.
And what is so special about him to you?
Well, the fact that he was a young man who, from his early childhood, he was very devoted to his faith, to the Eucharist, and to try to take his faith to influence society around him. That's what really attracts me from his story, and the fact that he was into sports and things like that.
Yeah, and your story is absolutely incredible as well. Tell us more about the doctor's reaction when you went to get an MRI exam before the scheduled surgery in 2017. What happened?
Well, I had already gone by about a month with my injury when I got the MRI. The day after I got the MRI, I started a novena, and 15 days after my MRI, I went to see the surgeon to prepare for surgery. And he checked the images, he checked my ankle, and he seemed puzzled after he was checking me. And he told me, you were supposed to have a gap, a hole in your ankle, but I can't find it. And you must have somebody up there looking after you. And he just seemed puzzled about it.
That is incredible. What was your reaction when he said that to you?
I just felt chills all over my body because I remember my novena. I remember the day I had a special incident in the chapel at the seminary, which is when we believe the healing happened.
Yeah. And then what was your reaction when you found out that the Vatican was looking into this?
It was pretty nerve-wracking. I thought the moment it happened, it was a special blessing that I wanted to keep to myself. And then when the Vatican started to investigate, it was breathtaking.
Yeah. I mean, it is absolutely incredible. And as we mentioned, Blessed Pier Giorgio Frassati is going to be canonized in Rome next year. So do you plan to attend?
I hope to attend, yes.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. All right. Any advice for the faithful who may be considering a novena for a special prayer request?
Just to remember that prayer works. The saints are there to help us pray to God, and that there's always someone listening. God is always listening to our prayers.
Absolutely. Father Juan, thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. We appreciate it, and God bless you.
God bless you.
And we thank you for watching tonight. Remember, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, X, and Instagram at EWTN News Nightly. I'm Tracy Sable. Good night, and God bless.